We'd rather distance ourselves from the unpleasant environment where unchurched Harry and Mary live. Let's admit it, it's more enjoyable to hang around with Christians than non-believers. We worship the same God, we share the same values, and we speak the same language. And so we gravitate more and more toward people like ourselves. But Jesus maintained balance in his life. He had what has been called a micro-ministry, an overarching mission from God to reach the world. And he also regularly engaged in micro-ministry, which means getting to know and befriend lost people one at a time. It's almost like you just target people and you focus on people. You pray for them. And the more you think about people, the more you begin to interact with them. You send them text messages. When you start thinking about people, I like that we have this board out here with everybody's picture on it. So every time I come in the building, I'm like, oh yeah, I can pray for everybody on there. It's amazing. Because it's a picture that's just right there, and you can see everybody's picture. And it's almost like having the picture directory. You know, you look through that directory, and you see all the different people in there. I remember when I first came to Lassen Street, and I would look through that directory. I was like 13 or 14. I was like, wow, this person does this. This person was in the Navy. This person did this, and this person stayed at home. You just saw and you began to see this person outside of the building, that this is a real person, that, you know, they actually do other things besides come to church. So it was really nice to see that. But getting to know a person, it takes time. It takes effort in knowing, you know, what people like. It's just like the baristas at the coffee shops. They know that when I come in there, I just want the small coffee, and, you know, I want the Benicia blend. That's usually what I want, is the Benicia blend. And then sometimes if there's this one that's from Hawaii that shows up, I'll spend the extra money when it comes and get that extra coffee. It's still cheaper than Starbucks. I'll go there and get that. And then, of course, I'm going to come in for a second cup of the free coffee. So that's sort of what it is with us. When we start developing relationships with people, then they begin to develop a relationship with, they begin to share with us. They begin to trust us. Or they'll say, well, I think this is as far as this relationship's going to go. But at some point, there's a turning point. Either they trust you or they don't, or they keep you at a distance. Some people, you may not know anything about them. And then 10 years later, it's like they know all about you. They say, yeah, I know you go to church, you do this, you do that. And you're just like, have you been stalking me? And no, I mean, we're so presently open to everybody. Everybody can see what you're doing. You can look at people on the internet. And I remember when I had gotten over to Aztec, New Mexico, some of the people that were on the preaching committee, they were like, yeah, Solomon, you look at this person on Facebook and you do this and you do that. And I was like, wow, they were really running through Facebook checking me out, you know. So in developing relationships, it just takes time. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes focus, it takes prayer. Secondly, talking about meeting the unchurched person where they live, often before we can be used to rescue someone from spiritual danger, we have to build a relationship bridge to them. And we mentioned this in our study of John. Like Jesus' conversation with the Samaritan woman, there are lots of times when we come across this kind of evangelistic turning point and we make choices whether or not we're going to initiate contact with a spiritually starved person. While we're taking a walk around the block, we can stop to meet the new neighbor who's washing their car, or we can stroll on by. We can choose to linger for a few moments and get to know the clerk at the dry cleaners, or we can dash home. We can invite a business colleague to lunch, or we can eat our meals with Christians. How many times do we rush past opportunities to make relational inroads with unbelievers? Anybody have an option this last week to talk to somebody about God? or to develop a relationship with the new person? Anybody? Yeah, all right. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. But that's an opportunity there for you to talk to them. That's going to come available. Yep. It's good. Anyone else? Yes, you. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. 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 Yeah. So, so it's just the value of having respect for people, no matter how small they are or how big they are. We should be as positive with people as we possibly can. I mean, some days we have our bad days, but your overall impact on that 9-year-old boy had positive consequences because he looked at you as somebody that, you said, what, how many years later was it? Oh, 9 years later. And he was 4 years old, so he was, what, 13? Yes. Yeah. So having respect for people and having respect for people's children goes a long ways. Because if you know anything about parents, you know how you are protective of your children. I know my parents are very protective of me. They didn't care how old I was. If people were mistreating me, they were there to support me in those situations. So it is important to have respect for people because that's part of evangelism, because that's the new life. We're looking at people with value. You're looking at them as valuable and not looking down on them, because every individual Christ died for. And if we put that at the top of the list when we look at people, it changes our dynamic and how we interact with them, what we say to them, and we think about our behavior around them. And the more and more we begin to value people as God values people, the better off we're going to be, because we also have to understand that God valued us too. So you see the positivity there? When you're around positive people, what type of effect does it have on you? It has a positive effect. But when you're around people that are angry all the time, most likely it's going to have an effect on you. You're going to become an angry person. Even the Proverbs warn us about being around angry people. So we don't want to be those angry people. We want to be positive. We want to be able to break those spirits of anger that people have. But it's important that we build those relationships. Number 3, to successfully rescue someone, at some point we have to clearly point out the path to safety. It's important that we get into a spiritual discussion and eventually point unchurched Harry or Mary toward Christ as being the only hope for rescue. Jesus made a conscious choice to steer his conversations into spiritual territory, and we can learn from the way he did it. We can do that. We can do that. I know sometimes people get a little scared in trying to lead people, but you have to take that step in that direction. Crystal?
The one scripture that we went to in our Bible study was 1 Peter 2:17.
Mm-hmm.
It says, honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor
Yeah.
the king.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times at school, the principal went to a class that taught them their biases and prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
My principal came back and she said, Crystal, I didn't even know some of these things exist, but the unchurched, the lay people can just pick that up, as we've all stated.
Mm-hmm.
Our prejudice, our dislikes, or thinking that other races or creeds are different. Just like the sister was saying about the trans person.
Yes.
God loves us all.
Yes.
He died for us.
Yes. Yes. And I like that verse that Crystal mentioned here, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 17. Honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. If we just practice that covers a lot. That covers it all. And we can be effective at reaching out and dealing with people. And as she was saying, it was something that was useful in their teaching in trying to have the organization work well. When everybody has respect for people, it makes things work better. But when we look at people in a negative light, that's the way that we're going to view them. That's the way we're going to talk to them. That's the way we're going to interact with them. That's the way we're going to plan to deal with them. And so when we look at people in a positive light as somebody that Christ died for, that has value, then we're going to also have that desire and need to tell them about the gospel message. So that's very important. Number 4, from these ideas, meeting the unchurched person where they live. Those who have been rescued should understand the urgency in reaching out to rescue others. One survey showed that within the previous 6 months, barely 1/3 of new Christians invited an unchurched person to attend church with them. I don't know why that is. It almost seems that when I was younger, more people were involved in bringing people to worship, bringing them to church, trying to lead people to Christ. I don't know exactly why that is the case. I remember last year at Polishing the Pulpit, it was a congregation. I think they were probably started off with 250 or something of that nature. And I think a year later, they were at 450. But they doubled in number because they were focused on reaching out. They not only reached out to the unchurched, but they reached out to the people like our sister was mentioning earlier, those that had stopped worshiping during COVID and never came back. They went out and reached out to them. They also had programs like years ago we had Primetime Tuesday where you had food. And but you also had teaching as well, and people come to that. That was one thing that brother and the congregation there did in Tennessee. And so a combination of everybody in the church, not only the elders, the deacons, the preacher, but all the members played an active part in reaching out to the world around them. And that's how the church grew from that 250 to over 400, because everybody were concerned, and not only concerned, they were activated, and it was their desire, and they made it happen. And so everybody plays a big part in this. Yes? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
encouraging one another, and all the more as we see the day drawing near.
Mm-hmm.
For if we go on sinning deliberately after receiving the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sin, but a fearful expectation of judgment,
Mm-hmm.
and the fury of fire that will consume the adversary. So, not gathering together,
Mm-hmm.
that is neglecting,
Yeah.
the way I'm reading it,
Yes.
that's a sin.
Yeah. Yep.
There's no, technology is good in some things.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my technology
Yes.
from this, but, streaming stuff and people think they can sit at home and be okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
gathering together on the first day of the week when we gather together to break bread.
Yeah.
That is, to gather together means you come together, you don't watch from far off.
Yeah.
We need to get back to book, chapter, and verse.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't want to hurt others' feelings by telling them the truth,
Mm-hmm.
but, that's a sin for you to not do the good that you know you should.
Mm-hmm.
If they take offense to the truth, they don't have an issue with you, they got an issue with God.
Yeah. Yep.
I just think we need to start just laying it out, lay out the truth. Here it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So the value of telling people they need to gather together. I mean, that's what the Hebrew writer was saying. The people have become accustomed to not meeting together. Sometimes there was the issue of people missing because they had to go to work. He wasn't necessarily talking to those. He was talking to those that had become the custom of not coming at all for whatever reason. Maybe it was discouragement or what have you. But I've always known the ideal of those that convalesce and they cannot come. In those particular cases, those people are not doing anything wrong because they're not necessarily fit for public interactions because of physical ailments and things like that. So that's not what the Hebrew writer was talking about. He was talking about those who had made it a habit not to attend and to meet, is the issue that the Hebrew writer was getting on there in Hebrews chapter 10, beginning at verse 24. So, all right. Any comments about some of these ideas about meeting the unchurched person where they live? Because, the overall goal of this is actually leading the people to Christ, talking to them about Christ, understanding that there could be reasons why they don't attend church, but we have to go and become like investigators and find out, But we got to be able to spend that time. Hugh? Yes?
We've got an opportunity at this time in our history. We've got so many people coming to live in America.
Mm-hmm.
Different faiths.
Yes.
A lot of people from India, a lot of people from China,
Mm-hmm.
Buddhist or Muslim.
Yes.
They're coming to us in a sense.
Yes, they are.
It's like, and this presents a problem for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people view that as, hey, they're taking our jobs, they're taking over our neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other
Yeah.
hand, do we look, can we see through that and say, they're coming to us?
Yes.
This is an opportunity for us to evangelize them.
Yes.
What you were saying about seeing the person the way God sees them.
Yes.
If we let things get in our way and blind us,
Yes.
we're going to lose a great opportunity.
Yes. Yep. So what Hugh is saying is that now we have a great opportunity. We still have people coming to America. And these people, we need to reach out to them and share the gospel with them. Not let biases or prejudices get in the way of us doing our job as Christians. We've got to shed all of those things so that we can view people as God views them. And that's what it's all about when we think about transforming our minds. We've got to continue to work on ourselves and make sure that we're aligning ourselves with what the scriptures teach and looking at people the proper way. Because during Jesus' ministry, he was always trying to get the people to see that Everybody needs to hear the word. It doesn't matter if this person is like, oh, Jesus hangs out with the sinners. Don't you go to the hospital to help heal people? I mean, when you go out visiting people in a hospital, your whole intention is not to make them sicker, is it? When you go visit, at least when I go visit people, I'm trying to lift their spirits. I'm praying for them. I may even give them a tract or something to read, or sometimes bring the kids with me and we sing to them. And this is what I've always gotten from going to visit people and singing. I remember years ago, my brother George was up in Roseville, and he was sick, really sick, in the bed sick. And we would go probably on a Saturday, and we would pray, we would sing. And George's fellow patients would say, when are they coming back again? Because when you hear little kids sing, it's quite amazing. Like we heard the children sing last Sunday. It's really nice, and we were able to hear them yesterday at the LTC get-together. But it's so amazing, it's so impactful. It really lifts people's spirits. And so when we are out reaching out, we are trying to lift people's spirits. We're trying to show them that you are valuable, that God loves you. You're just not just a number. You have value, because society can tell us that we're not so good, we're not this. Society's always telling us all sorts of messages, but the message that we're bringing of the gospel is good news, and we've got to share that good news with people as we're interacting with them. The fifth is kingdom heroes don't get bogged down in the process of evangelism. Rather, they keep their eyes focused on the purpose of evangelism. I never want to get so caught up in the process of evangelism that I forget the bottom line is to put the ball in the net. In other words, to let God use me to bring people into his family. When we keep that goal in the forefront of our minds and we live in daily anticipation that God is going to work through us, then we're ready to act when those ultimate turning points come. So this is some thoughts for us to consider as we are striving to share the word with people. And as Evan was saying earlier, we need to just share the word, because the power is in the word. God is using us to deliver his word to people. And so we need to trust the process, that we are the vessels that are sharing the message, but it's not our message. If the people reject it, it's not rejecting us. They're rejecting God. But sometimes, even when we're delivering the message and they reject it, the goal has been met. They've received the message. And we don't know how it's going to germinate, so to speak. We don't know what it's going to do in their lives. But we need to say, I gave it to you. And be happy with it. And move on to the next individual, the next people. And maybe they might come back to us and be able to share the message, more message with them. Yes, Dean? Yes. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. 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 Yep.
Because we know that we have brothers throughout the world that are undergoing the same kind of sufferings that some here in the state. We have people coming from all kinds of places, like Venezuela.
Yes.
And they're trying to get away from some bad things. And, we just need to understand coming to this country.
Yes. 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 So she was saying how important it is to listen to people as we're interacting with them, to see how we can best help them. And then we're able to share the gospel with them, because that's the main goal is to share the gospel with them. But sometimes we do need to just be listeners to be able to see how we can best help people as we develop those relationships with them. So, all right. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all your interaction this morning. Uh-huh. Yeah.